Gonna be talking about the trenches and a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. What is up, Finn fans? Yes, the video is 90, maybe 80% about the trenches. Omar Kelly put out a very good article. I'm going to go over it talking about it. The Dolphins not going to address the trenches because they still need some help on both sides of that defense and offensive line. But I asked you guys on Twitter and on here in the community tab, should I make a video talking about Aaron Rodgers? And more than 60% of you guys was like, don't make a video. It's not Dolphin related, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not making a full video on it. But there's something going on with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I think I might have sprinkled that in the title because I kind of want to talk about it. Now, again, I'm not going to make it a full video about it, but I want to talk about it because it pertains to the AFC East. And also, I look at Tom Grassi as a, like I look up to him, someone that I aspire to be. You know, hopefully we can work with him. And you see what he does with his channel. It is predominantly Packers, but he does talk about the NFL. This is something that's going on in the NFL, and it definitely pertains to the Dolphins, being that the Dolphins will play him twice, and he's in the AFC East, and he's with the Jets. So I'm real quick. I'm not going to delve too long on this, but I real quick want to talk about this. Aaron Rodgers is not at minicamp. Aaron Rodgers will not be at minicamp. And it's a thing that I'm noticing with Aaron Rodgers, and I'm noticing a lot of Packer fans are coming out being like, hey, you're dealing with it, not us. And if you don't know what's going on, essentially there's this from Adam Schefter, right? Jets head coach Robert Saleh on Aaron Rodgers' absence. Aaron and I are on the exact same page. There's no issue between Aaron or his teammates for that matter. We addressed it. It's more of an issue for everyone outside the building than it is inside. So him not being at mandatory mini camps, him and Aaron have talked about it and all that stuff, and there's no issue, yada, yada. But the confusing part for me is Ian Rappaport comes out and says, Jets coach Robert Saleh told reporters that Aaron Rodgers is not at minicamp today, an unexpected absence that is a subject to fines. Saleh said it was for an event important to him. So you're on the same exact page, there's no issues, but it's an unexcused absence, and he's going to get fined for it. But you're on the same page, and there's no issues. Then why are you fining him, and why is it unexcused? I'm having a hard time with that. It's just that those two aren't clicking. Then Connor Hughes says, and he's a reporter for the Jets, Aaron Rodgers planning this trip when he was still rehabbing. The Jets, which, let me stop there. You know when minicamp is going to be. It's always in the beginning of June. Why would you plan a trip around this time? You literally, after you're in minicamp for 3 days, you get a month and a half. You couldn't have planned it for the middle of June? Like that's come on. The Jets have known about it the moment there was an overlap with the release of minicamp schedule. Again, end of June. Make it for the end of June. Rodgers is unexcused because you can't excuse a trip, but not a contract dispute, Hassan Reddick. Semantics, but there's no unrest in the building. The Jets don't think it's a big deal. Not sure why the world is reacting differently. Rodgers misses 2 days after being at every voluntary workout the last 2 years. Will have zero impact on what the New York Jets / Rodgers accomplished this season. It's because, and I'm going to get into why, because I wrote down why. Because I read that and I was like, he's not wrong, but this is why other people are kind of looking at it. Albert Beer, kind of said, okay, so here's the full explanation. He said he and Rodgers' communication, yada, same thing. The event Rodgers is attending instead of being present at the team activities hasn't been made known by Saleh or the Jets. And Deanna Rossini says Aaron Rodgers is skipping all of Jets' mandatory minicamp this week because he prefers to be somewhere else away from football. That is his choice. This is why it's interesting to me. There are 32 teams in the NFL, and there are 31 starting quarterbacks that were at mandatory minicamp. Even Tua Tagovailoa, who wants a new contract, was at mandatory minicamp. Aaron Rodgers is not, because Aaron Rodgers can do what Aaron Rodgers wants. And on Boomer in the morning, I think, or Rossini called in and essentially was like, Joe Douglas is co-GM. And she's not really wrong, because there was the trade drama. I'm gonna run down the list, right, of Aaron Rodgers and why people are like, oh, geez, so this guy again. There was the trade drama. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Why is the holdup? This, and that. The fact that the Jets got his offensive coordinator to entice him to come here. Then when he came here, they go out and get Randall Cobb. They go out and get Lazard. They go out and get all these guys for Aaron Rodgers. He was the boss. He is the boss of the Jets, and that's why he went to the Jets, is because he knows I could do what I want. I could say what I want. Final deal done, yada yada. And it's proven evident right now in him going to an event and it being unexcused, but then Saleh comes out and says, no, we're on the same page, but he's going to get fined, but we're on the same page, everyone's fine, but it's unexcused. Doesn't make sense. Then he tears his Achilles, which is horrible. I wish he never did that. No excuse. I would have loved to play him full strength. Then towards the middle of the year, here comes Aaron Rodgers again. Like, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I might be coming back. They're saying I could be good. I'm going to come back. And now all of a sudden, Jet fans are excited. The media is talking about him because for a while, Aaron Rodgers was gone because he tore his Achilles. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't like that. I can come back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. And then he's like, no, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. Then there's the talks of him being a vice president in the presidential election. More distraction. And now this minicamp thing. More distraction. And then on top of that, in the beginning of the year, in January, there was the talks of the stuff inside the organization with Robert Saleh, with the offensive coordinator. Well, it's just drama on drama on drama on drama on drama. And then it's all stems around Aaron Rodgers. Why couldn't you make your trip while you were rehabbing in the middle of June to end of June? Minicamp is always that first to second week of June. Just make it the 24th. Make it at the end of the year. You have all of July. It's a power move by Aaron Rodgers because he can do whatever he wants and the Jets will bow to him because without him, you saw what they were last year. And he knows that. And he's using that to his advantage because he should be at mandatory minicamp. I don't give a crap if he was at all of OTAs. OTAs doesn't mean nothing compared to mandatory minicamp. It's just, I'm sorry. It's just that man could get away with murder. And the Jets fans, not all of them, but the Jets fans will be like, it's fine. Did you see him? Did you see him do it? It's fine. It's funny. It's funny. It's just the backpedaling and the nonsense it just makes me laugh. But I spend about 8 minutes talking about it, and it makes me laugh. Tua misses 1 day of OTAs to go to a charity golf event with Jalen Hurts and other NFL players. And people who hate Tua were just up in arms. Aaron Rodgers misses mandatory minicamp, and not just 1 day, all of them. Those same people who are up in arms about Tua, radio silent. Now, the media isn't. New York media isn't. But those same people who were huffing and puffing about Tua not being at 1 day of OTAs, radio silent. I find it interesting. So let's talk about the offensive line. Omar Kelly wrote this article 2 days ago saying, "Are the Dolphins ignoring the trenches?" And I hope not. He says, if the teams use the phrase, "put your money where your mouth is," as a barometer for team-wide priorities, it would be glaringly obvious that the Miami Dolphins feel the interior spots of the offense and defensive lines are afterthoughts. Not only did 3 players who served as fundamental players in the trenches on the offensive defensive line move on to greener pastures, with Christian Wilkins signing a 4-year, $110 million deal with the Raiders, the Carolina Panthers signing Robert Hunt 5 years, $100 million deal, and Raekwon Davis going to the Colts for 2 years, $14 million. but 9 defensive linemen and 5 offensive linemen who are competing to replace Wilkins, Hunt, and Davis each barely make more than the NFL minimum. Let me provide an illustration of the disparity in the financial resources used to address those free agent defections. Deshaun Hand, Tart, Jonathan Harris, Neville Gallimore, Benito Jones, and the five veteran defensive tackle linemen Miami signed this offseason collectively will earn $7.85 million this season if they make it to the 53-man roster. And I'm not reading this part. I don't think they all will. Davis, a role player for the Dolphins the past 4 years, will be paid $7 million by the Colts. This is an exciting time personally for me as a coach. Defensive line coach Austin Clark said, there is a challenge of helping guys who all have different roles in their careers, whether they have been the guy who has started or hasn't, or the guy who has been, they have been a guy fighting to make the roster. I'm challenging them, working with them. There's some internal motivation from these guys, and I definitely feel that, which is nice. It's good. Have internal motivation, but bring in talent as well. Offensively, Miami was forced to rebuild the interior of the offensive line, which was filled with replacements in the final 2 months of the 2023 season because of injuries. Miami signed Aaron Brewer to a 3-year deal worth $21 million, $13.8 million guaranteed this offseason, with the expectations that he will replace Connor Williams at center. Williams sustained a season-ending injury and potentially career-ending knee injury last December and remains a free agent, but the odds of him joining an NFL team are slim at this point. Brewer's athleticism should come in handy when it comes to making second-level blocks, but the fact he's listed at 6'1", 295, which is relatively small for a college offensive lineman, much less an NFL starter, might present some trouble for Miami's offensive line in the pass blocking department, and he struggled in the pass blocking department. Liam Eichenberg is projected to be the backup, but when he's not taking snaps at center, the former Notre Dame standout is competing with Jack Driscoll, a free agent signed from Philly, and holdovers Isaiah Wynn, Robert Jones, Lester Cotton, and Chasen Hines for the 2 starting guard spots. To me, Isaiah Wynn is your left guard. Their competition is at right guard. Offensive line coach Butch Barry is confident Eichenberg's cross-training at center, which began last offseason and carried into the season, will make the 2021 second-round pick a better pro. I noticed he got better at the end of last season, and that is to his work, credit to his hard work, but also to Butch Barry. We'll see how that pans out, who they name the starter at right guard. At this point, he has started 38 NFL games and has played all 5 positions on the offensive line. If the Dolphins don't allow Eichenberg to settle in one spot, possibly right guard, they would be doing him a disservice. Yeah, to me, that's the spot he should be competing at. Miami added Driscoll, who had started 17 NFL games the past 4 seasons because of his athleticism, Barry said. Driscoll, a guy who can really move his feet, had good internal quickness, Butch Barry said. He's very dedicated to his approach and how he wants to do things. So it seems like they're trying to really feed off of that zone run scheme and having guards and interior offensive linemen that can pull and move quickly. As for Jones and Cotton, who each started games last season, Barry wants to see consistency from them, especially since they now have 2 years of experience in this scheme and spent 1 season with Barry learning the finer points of it. Head coach Mike McDaniel has been extremely clear that each offensive lineman who have been in the Dolphins program for longer than a season should take another step forward because they have familiarity with the scheme, understanding what it's needed and expected of them. I am very happy with our current orchestration of both those units. The offensive line, there's a little more history and experience personally with all those guys involved. On the defensive line, there's more new. So the guys working to get the things tied together with the entire defense in that regard, just like the newer offensive line that we do have, are working to master a new scheme. And not only that, not only are they working to kind of get that familiarity with each other, but it's a whole new defense. McDaniel has strayed from his "I'm very happy with the team" mantra, but supports adding talent that would racket up the competitive level. Right now, that would require large salary commitment for possible free agents such as Calais Campbell, or the utilization of trade resources. Miami could wait until teams begin to process trimming their roster down to 53 at the end of August and see what can be found on the waiver wire or sign a veteran who was displaced. It's early, but for now, what's on the roster is what the Dolphins have to work with. And I ain't comfortable with it. That's me saying that, not Omar Kelly, but I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. I think competition always breeds benefits for the Miami Dolphins just because it brings the best out of people, McDaniel continued. We'll never shut the door on that, but I'm happy with the groups, their production, how they have been working together. Of course, he's not going to sit there and say, these guys are hot garbage, we need to bring in somebody else. As a head coach, your job's not to tear people down. We'll see if McDaniel keeps that same tune when he sees his team in pads come August, which provides the best chance to evaluate the trenches before the regular season begins in September. Hopefully, it won't be too late to make an improvement by then. Fantastic article, Omar. Absolutely love what you had to say there. Yeah, I have preached, and as well as others, that to me, trenches is where you win a championship. And if the Dolphins have a top 5, I'll say top 10 in offense or defensive line, they're going to win the division and they're going to win a playoff game. To me, that is what held us back last year. It was evident at what point? I think it wasn't even the Cowboys game. It wasn't even the collapse when we had a 3-game lead. It was before that. We were at like our 11th iteration of the offensive line. It was like the Raiders game, or it was the Titans game. The Titans game is when Connor Williams went down. And that was another huge blow for us. You know, we went and beat the Jets handedly, and you know, our offensive line kind of did what they needed to do in those games, but the offensive line constantly struggled. And that's where, you know, Kurt Warner came in and said, Tua needs to work on getting to his second read, his second process, but the Dolphins also have to put players in situation to help with that. Also, you got to give him time. Dead last in the NFL when it came to time to throw, not release, but time to throw. And 31st ranked in pass block win rate. Like, Tua drops his foot back and he goes to his first read. He might have time to get to his second. Definitely doesn't have time to get to his third. You look at Brock Purdy in the playoffs. That man was burping the baby until it spit up everywhere. And then it was able to throw the ball like he was just boop, doop, 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 and then threw it. Tua doesn't have that luxury. I don't think Tua ever had that luxury because you look at the first 2 years. You look at his second year, he had probably one of the worst offensive lines in the past 10 years. Need to address that, baby, please, for the love of God. Then you look at on the flip-flop and the flim-flam. When it came towards the end of the season, we had no pass rushers. Injured. We could get no sustainable pass rush on the opposing quarterbacks unless they were a bad team with a bad offensive line. Then we can get after them. But if it was Josh Allen, if it was Patrick Mahomes, if it was Jalen Hurts, if it was Lamar Jackson, any of these guys, we would get like one or two sacks on them. That was it. Weren't getting pressure, weren't getting after them. It just sucked. So when you look at, to me, what the downfall was of that second half of that season, it was a combination of things. But to me, the biggest factor was the trenches. Because you look at the teams that were having success, you either had a mobile quarterback like Josh Allen who can evade the pressure, or you had a good offensive line like the Eagles. They kind of fell apart though. Or like the 49ers or these teams that had good trench work. They gotta focus on the trenches. The trenches are important. You can build a running game. You give time for your passer. You give time for the receivers to get open. And on the flip side, you shut the run down. You get pressure on the opposing quarterback. You help your secondary. Trenches. I talk about it. I've been talking about it for years. Been doing this channel for 6. I've probably been talking about trenches for 4. Trenches. So I hope, like Omar said, it's not too late. Maybe they're working on something now. I don't know. But the trenches need to be addressed. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think about what I said about Aaron Rodgers? What do you think about addressing the trenches? And other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow. I think I'm working on a collab tomorrow. That'll be out later because the collab is set to record at 6:30. So if not tomorrow, then definitely on Saturday. You know, a ton of videos, like I said. Hit that subscribe button. But like usual, stay classy. If it's up.